What's up? Welcome back to Ang channel, and today we will be moving on to another stock review, and I think it's one of the most popular one, and you must have known it. It's the super microcomputer. So without further ado, let's go. So right now we have over here is the SMCI, and looking at the chart, right, this stock is actually quite magnificent, as you can see from how much the growth is. So from the year of 2022 starting to surge up until I think it's more than about 10x. It's more than 10x. This is almost 14x already. But then this company faced a lot of challenges, faced a lot of issues, and right now it's sitting at $48 only, which is cheap. But is it a cheap crap or is it cheap good shit? So right now we will be going through some of the financial status as well, and we're also going through the reason why SMCI experienced such huge pullback, or is it just drawdown over 86% from the all-time highs. So let's go right to the charts. So right here we have the revenue from the SMCI. We can actually observe that the quarterly revenue is actually quite solid, stating that from almost 10 years now, actually in a increasing and even in exponential growth. However, we can see that in the recent 3 quarters, right, we can actually see some decreasing in growth and revenue from 5.9 billion drop down to 4.6. However, this might be just temporary, but in the future quarters result, we will be observe on that furthermore in order to ensure that whether or not this company actually starts to lose its strength in gaining more sales and revenue. But right now in this situation, the revenue is actually quite good with exponential increase. As for the net income, we actually can observe a similar pattern of revenue, which is increasing starting from the year of 2021 and exponentially increase up until 0.4 billion. However, for the recent 3 quarters, yeah, it starts to come back down to almost 2 years ago. So whether or not this decreasing patterns in terms of net income and revenue will continue in the coming quarters, that's going to decide if this company is still in a good position of growing or it just starts to lose its strength in this competitive market. So from the financial status of revenue and net income, I cannot see the reason why the stock market experienced 84% of drawdown, despite we do observe some of the decreasing net income and revenue for recent quarters. However, I don't think that is the main contributions to the SMCI huge pullback. A lot of people have already known this company due to its very popular case of scandal in terms of money scandals. So let's just go through some of the histories. Well, not very history because it's just a year ago, right? So what actually happened is actually the accounting red flag and auditor exit. So in the August 2024, Hindenburg Research accused SMCI of accounting irregularities and illicit exports, a flashpoint that dented investor confidence. And October 2024 saw auditor Ernst & Young resign, citing internal control concerns triggering fears over delisting. So this is where the problem of money scandals. So they have accounting irregularities, so meaning that it's actually something illegal or scams or scandals within the accounting system or financial systems inside the company itself. So when it comes to this money scandal, right, it's very serious, such that the flow or the cash flow that you actually report to your shareholders, to the consumers, is actually the main part that brings confidence to the buyers, because it actually signifies strength of a company. If you have this money, then of course a lot of people will have confidence in you. But if then you have poor financial status, then somewhat this company is in a position whereby people are not willing to risk that much in terms of investing in it. And when it comes to money scandal, accounting irregularities, that is where people starts to afraid, because they don't know what else you are doing with the money, with the investment money. So It's very risky and highly dangerous when it comes to investing in such companies that actually involves in money scandals. Talking about it, right? For my strategy of exiting the hold and buy and hold strategy, money scandal is actually one of the trigger factors which I'm going to sell. So if that time SMCI just announced they have this accounting irregularities, even they just suspect or accused, I would actually start to straight away sell it. I haven't been there in the shoes of facing company or of holding a company that actually face this kind of accounting irregularities, which I'm quite curious about the situation. Would you actually sell immediately, or would you be like, hey, let's just put it a few weeks more and see the conditions of the market? Maybe it's just something misunderstanding, but who knows, right? Money scandal is actually pretty serious problem, and also there are many other reasons actually. So they actually have this problem of delaying to reports their yearly financial reports, which actually decrease the confidence of the consumers. So they also have this repeated guidance cuts of their quarterly reports. So actually just signifies that the company strengths are actually decaying over time, and of course this will actually lose the confidence in the shareholders and will start selling to put into a more stronger company that will continuously improve and increase their guidance in the later quarters. So this actually signifies that the company are confident that they can actually achieve a greater goals, greater requirements. And for those who cut guidance, right, it just somewhat makes people think that they actually starts to lose their branding power as well as their positions in the competitive market. So I guess this is the overall timeline whereby we have the money scandal over there and the delay of the yearly financial reports, as well as two successive consecutive cuts in the guidance warning. So this which leads to a large price drops after the money scandal issues. So the stream income of SMCI is actually, you can actually buy segments. They include the servers and storage systems, which actually covers up 95% of the revenue. And they also have the subsystems and accessories, which stands for 5% and services for another 1%. So by regions, most of their revenues actually come from America itself, which is 68%, and surprisingly 19% in Asia countries. What SMCI do is actually they are the US-based technology company specialized in high performance energy efficient server and also storage solutions, primarily for data centers, AI, cloud computing, and enterprise IT. So in detail, what they actually do is actually they have design and manufacture server systems and customized server platforms such as for AI, machine learning, cloud data centers, edge computing, and in their self-storage system, which is high capacity, high speed storage solutions, which actually used by business to handle large volumes of data, especially in AI training and big data analytics. So what they provide is actually rack scale plug and play solutions. It's a total IT solution with server, storage, and networking gear ready to be deployed. So it's actually saves the customer setup time and allows the customers to directly use the solution provided by the company by just installing certain apps, and it will be good to go. They're also focusing on green computing focus, which is design energy efficient servers and cooling systems. So making them itself actually a leader in green computing, which is actually surprising for me, and help reduce data center power consumption. So this will be actually a good part in terms of AI sector, because most of the time people are actually focusing more on just creating stronger GPU, faster AI calculations, but no one actually thought about how to reduce the cost of running the servers down. And this company actually have this focus on the green computing, which actually signifies the strengths of this company in the field of AI. So that is the reason why this company is actually facing the issue of confidence. So the fact that they actually have the history of involving themselves in something irregular that actually relates to money, to financial status of the company, is actually pretty dangerous, because cash flow the whole financial status of the company is the main survival factor that keeps the company drive and keeps the company working. Continuing to look at the SMCI of free cash flow, we can actually, the free cash flow is actually very terrible, especially for the recent year. So in the 2024, we have a negative value, and I think this is pretty huge, but I'm not sure whether or not this is related to the case. So this is the main concern for SMCI due to its negative free cash flow that is actually in a very high value of negative situations. But on the good side of the SMCI is that they actually put a lot of money into their research and development expenses. As we can observe over here, it's actually increasing for the expenses in R&D, signifying that they are actually putting efforts and putting more money into discovering their innovations as well as their product to make it better for the consumers. So let's just put aside the financial status and look at what is actually the most concerned issue of this company, which is we call the money scandal for the SMCI. So what's clear up is actually the independent special committee. They actually said that found no evidence of fraud or misconduct by the management on board. And then there's another thing is that they found unsupported by the facts and with no need to restate past financials. And they also recommend, and the board adopted a improved governance like new CFO search, chief accounting officer, and so on and so forth to enhance their internal control procedures. So overall, we can actually see that the company right now is actually in the sense that they are actually trying to fix and clearing their management or for the internal control of their company. For the situation of SMCI, is actually that the worst or the money scandal accusation essentially has been passed, and right now they are trying to focus on the strengthening of internal controls and governance, and also to fulfilling the Nasdaq filing obligation, which is to kind of like complement with the delay of the 10K filing, and as well as awaiting any potential regulatory closure if there is no sign of any pending enforcement. So the company right now is in the state whereby the situation of the money scandal has cooled off, but in the sense that it has not actually come to an end, because the regulatory, they don't actually close the case yet, just that they don't have further further pending penalties or pending enforcement in order to deal with this situation. So right now the focuses of SMCI is actually to focus on changing and refining their internal control in order to provide a better management in terms of financials, as well as to provide a new controlling systems that will regain back their confidence of this company. However, right now the situation, as we mentioned on the revenue and net income, we can actually observe a slight reduce, and if that is the case for continuously 4 quarters, meaning that for the whole year, which is 4 quarters of decreasing revenue and net income, that will be a concern, because this shows that the company starts to lose its strength in this competitive market. And if the situation were to somewhat come to an end, the historical money scandal issues of this company will hang on it for the rest of the time. And in order to change or increase the confidence of the shareholders and buyers, they will have to come up with something that is actually making the company itself strong enough and regain their positions, and also to ensure that their growth of the company, increasing net income, as well as to fix their free cash flow in going to the positive sides. So back to the financial statement, right? We're actually going through the net cash, and as we can actually see from the free cash flow, that is actually not performing quite well, and we'll also see some negative value that is huge in negative free cash flow. We can actually obtain the net cash is actually pretty bad as well. So right now the situation of SMCI is actually highly in debt, which signifies that the company is actually in a very dangerous positions. But in the long run, maybe the situation might change, but that requires the future observations. And for the debt equity ratio, we can actually see that the value is actually at 0.42%. It's actually in a safe zone of my less than 1 of the debt equity ratio, so it's pretty good. And in terms of ROE and ROIC, the value is actually pretty solid as well because it's above 15%. However, we can actually observe a decreasing ROE, and similarly for the ROIC, the value actually went down below 15% and it's actually in a decreasing format. So this makes me wonder that if this company is actually facing a issue when it comes to growing their business, or this is just the chain effect, which actually brings down due to the starting of the money scandal accusation, and right now they're just facing the problem of confidence from consumers and start losing their positions in the strong markets. Moving on, we'll be looking at the economic Moat scoring for the SMCI. So right here we have the score being generated. As we can see from the branding, loyalty, and pricing power, we can actually see that the SMCI has very strong positions in AI optimized servers with rapid build out, but price sensitive hardware market limits the power. So it has actually 7 score in terms of branding and loyalty power, and high barriers to entry actually scores at 8 because the proprietary expertise in GPU dense server designs and in-house manufacturing. So this requires a lot of experts when it comes to building the GPU servers as well as the manufacturing parts that connects all the GPU and build up the computing servers, as well as the focus of green computing, which requires more expertise in terms of power supplies, design, and manufacturing. And as for the switching cost, it's actually sitting at the point of 7. It's actually moderate to high as clients prefer familiar, validated server architectures, and switching to others actually incurs integration risk. So in terms of switching cost, SMCI actually provide fast, large AI services in terms of GPU server as well as AI cloud computing. So this actually allows great company to use them, and also come with this green computing, which somewhat actually reduce the cost of the power supply. So in terms of switching costs, right, I do think that there are actually many other better options compared to SMCI, especially when the money scandal happens and people are actually lack of confidence towards this company. And I think that the switching cost is still pretty moderate, moderate to high. It depends on the services that actually provides, and it's not something like Fortinet, which actually requires the users or the company to actually switch the whole app, switch the whole data centers process in order for them to switch from Fortinet to another company that provides securities. So for Fortinet, it's actually very high switching cost. So for the network effect, it's actually scaling manufacturing and partnership with NVIDIA and AMD that help reputation, but not actually a two-sided user network. So the score of the network effect actually at 5. And for the economic scales, the growing scale with automated production facilities and vertical integration, but still smaller than the hyperscales. So the economic scales actually score at 7, and overall we can obtain the economic mode of almost 6.8. And over here we can actually say that a moderate mode in competitive hardware setup. While its AI-focused manufacturing, server design gives strengths, it is still vulnerable to the commoditizations and lack of deep ecosystem-driven network effects. So this is a very niche company whereby they focus on hardware building of GPU servers, and they actually still have the problem of hardware is inherently competitive because of the price pressure, and the switching cost is actually pretty moderate as the users can actually move or switch to a larger, better ecosystems without actually changing much or paying much of the price. So overall, I do think that in the past presentation and their performance of SMCI, right, is actually quite good and super solid. However, due to the accusation of the money scandals, which is actually quite dangerous because many people and many investment are actually scared that if a company has something wrong with its financial status. So that is the main heart, main soul that drives the company, and which actually allows a shareholder to understand the companies and what their situation is at. So money scandal is very dangerous, and it's actually best to avoid as the lesson learned from the SMCI. And situation like this, right? So the positions of SMCI right now is actually quite special. because after all the money scandal issues has cooled off, right now the focuses of the buyer of the investor is that whether or not is SMCI going to be fine again or another great options to invest to. So my take on this is that this is not financial advice, but what I would do is actually to wait for few more quarters or even 2 more years to observe the continuous performance of the SMCI. So what I would do actually right now is to actually wait for the whole regulatory issues to close case, and this finally when it comes to an end, while at the same time their growth of revenue and net income is actually in the increasing positions, unlike the observation that we actually obtained just now, which is 3 recent quarters that are showing decreasing patterns, as well as trying to fix their free cash flow into positive and net cash into positive, and also show some signs of increasing in terms of ROE and ROIC, only then I will be considered to re-enter this company again. And I do think that this company will make a good investment only after they actually resolve a lot of their complexes right now, as well as to focus on their growth of the company. So this is actually a very special episode because it's just bring back to the history of that day, right? I'm not buying the stock, but then just watching the stock going down and down and down is just super crazy, and then wondering what is the problem, because there is many regulatory problem of the company like Google and all those stuff, but all those are just in terms of user privacy, monopolies effect, which actually lack of the so-called evidence, and it has been going through between the fight between the company and the Department of Justice of America. And for SMCI, the case is actually pretty crazy due to money scandals, and investment are solely pretty much relies on financial status. It's what drives people to invest it. It's what drives people to go and look at their status and to position themselves in whether or not if it's a good company or bad company. So I guess that is all for today's video. It's pretty direct, and my take is that this company is pretty solid only after they actually resolve everything on the money scandal issues, as well as starts to grow, showing some growth of the company with better revenue, better net income, free cash flow, so on. So I hope you like this video and gain insightful lessons from this company example. And if you like my video, you can actually support me by giving me a thumbs up, share this video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I will see you on the next video. So bye bye.